Claire didn't plan to stop the car there. The pain came sharp, then stayed, low and steady, like something tightening from the inside and refusing to let go. She kept both hands on the wheel longer than she should have. Breathing didn't help. Nothing did. The street was quiet. Too quiet for something like this. She checked her phone once. No new messages. No missed calls. That part didn't surprise her. Another contraction hit before she could open the door. Her body folded forward, forehead brushing the steering wheel. She stayed like that, eyes closed, waiting for it to pass. It didn't pass cleanly. It lingered, like it had something to prove. She whispered something under her breath. Not a word, just sound. Then she forced herself out of the car. The hospital doors opened too slowly. Claire pressed the button twice, like that might hurry them along. It didn't. The glass slid apart at the same pace, steady, indifferent. By the time there was enough space to pass through, another contraction had already started building. She stepped inside anyway. The air felt different. Cooler. Cleaner. It made her aware of how warm her skin had become, how damp the back of her neck was. She pushed a hand against her stomach without thinking. Not to stop anything, just to feel where the pain was sitting. It shifted. The waiting area wasn't crowded. A few people scattered across chairs, some leaning forward, some looking at their phones. No one looked up when she walked in. She preferred it that way. There was a desk ahead. A woman behind it glanced up briefly, then down again, fingers still moving across a keyboard. Claire stopped a few steps short of the counter, not because she meant to, but because her body did. Another wave hit. Stronger this time. She held on to the strap of her bag and stood still. Count. Just count. 1, 2, 3 to D. The numbers didn't help. They slipped away halfway through, replaced by the feeling itself. It wasn't sharp anymore. It spread, deeper, pressing outward. She leaned slightly forward, one hand braced on her thigh. Her breathing changed without her deciding it should. Shorter. Less controlled. When it eased, it didn't disappear completely. It stayed, quieter, like something waiting its turn. She stepped up to the desk. Her voice didn't come out right the first time. She cleared it. I think it's time. The woman behind the desk looked at her again, this time longer. Her expression shifted, quick but noticeable. She stood. How far apart are the contractions? Claire blinked. The question felt simple, but her mind didn't move fast enough to answer it. She tried to think back. The car, the road, the spaces in between. I don't know exactly, she said. There, close. The woman nodded, already reaching for something behind the counter. First baby? Claire hesitated. Just for a second. Yes. The word landed heavier than it should have. Okay, the woman said, her tone changing slightly, softer but more focused. We'll get you upstairs. Do you have someone with you? Claire shook her head before the sentence was even finished. No. Another pause, but shorter this time. The woman didn't push. She just nodded again and stepped out from behind the desk. Come with me. Claire followed. Walking felt different now. Not impossible, just uneven. Like her body was working on something separate from her decisions. Each step needed more attention than it should have. They moved through a hallway that smelled faintly of something sterile. Not unpleasant, just present. The lights overhead were too bright. Or maybe her eyes were adjusting too slowly. A wheelchair appeared beside her without warning. Let's have you sit, the woman said. I can walk, Claire replied too quickly. I know, the woman said, not arguing. This will just make it easier. Claire looked at the chair, then at the hallway ahead. It didn't look far, but distances felt unreliable right now. Another contraction started before she could decide. She sat. The chair moved almost immediately. The motion was smooth, controlled. Claire kept her hands in her lap at first, then moved one back to her stomach again. The pressure was building faster now. Less space in between. She focused on the sound of the wheels, the quiet hum against the floor. It gave her something to hold on to that wasn't inside her body. They reached an elevator. The doors opened faster than the ones outside. She noticed that. It felt like a small mercy. Inside, the woman pressed a button. The doors closed. The space was smaller here, the air still. Claire exhaled slowly. "Have you checked in with a doctor before?" the woman asked. Claire shook her head. "No. I mean, I had appointments before, but not here." "That's okay," the woman said. "We'll take care of it." The elevator moved. Claire felt it in her stomach, a brief shift that didn't match the rest of the sensations she was already trying to manage. She closed her eyes. For a moment, everything narrowed, not just the pain, but the space around it. The sounds softened. The movement slowed. Then it came again. Stronger. Her hand gripped the edge of the chair this time. Her shoulders tensed without her telling them to. She leaned forward slightly, breath catching halfway through. The woman didn't say anything. She just stayed close, one hand resting lightly on the back of the chair. It passed. Not completely, but enough. The elevator doors opened. The hallway upstairs looked the same as the one below. Same lights. Same floors. But quieter. More contained. Like everything here had already been decided. They moved quickly now. Or maybe it just felt that way. A set of double doors opened, and suddenly there were more people. Movement. Voices, low but constant. The kind of place where things didn't stop. Claire's chair turned into a room before she could fully take it in. A bed. Equipment she didn't recognize. A window with the blinds half closed. "Let's get you settled," someone said. A different voice now. Hands moved around her, not rushed, but efficient. Her bag was taken. Her jacket slipped off her shoulders. Questions came, one after another, but not all at once. Name. How far along? Any complications? She answered what she could. Some answers came easily. Others took longer, like they had to travel a greater distance before reaching her mouth. Another contraction interrupted halfway through a sentence. She didn't try to finish it. Her body folded inward again, smaller this time, like it had learned something from before. The pain wasn't surprising anymore, just heavier. When it eased, she stayed still for a moment longer than necessary. Then she opened her eyes. Someone was adjusting something near the bed. Another person stood by the monitor, watching numbers Claire didn't understand. "Okay," the voice said again. "We're going to check how far along you are." Claire nodded, even though the words didn't fully settle. She focused on the ceiling. White. Unmarked. Her breathing steadied for a moment. Not calm, just less uneven. The room continued moving around her. She let it. Because stopping wasn't an option anymore. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, between one contraction and the next, a thought surfaced, not fully formed, not even clear, but present enough to feel. She was really alone here. The thought didn't break her. It didn't even change her expression. It just stayed, quiet, persistent, like everything else. The bed felt too narrow once she was on it. Not physically. There was enough space, but everything around her seemed closer now. The monitor to her left, the tray beside it, the quiet rhythm of something beeping, steady and unconcerned. Claire shifted slightly, trying to find a position that didn't make the pressure worse. It didn't work. The pressure didn't care where she placed herself. A nurse stood near her side, gloved hands moving with practiced ease. "You doing fine," she said, almost absent-mindedly, like it was something she said often. Claire nodded, though she wasn't sure what fine meant here. Another contraction came without much warning. It didn't build slowly this time. It arrived already strong, already settled into her body like it had been waiting for a moment she couldn't see. Her fingers tightened against the sheet. She turned her head slightly, not toward anyone, just away from the center of the room. Her breath shortened again, uneven, catching at the edges. "Try to breathe through it," the nurse said. Claire heard her. The words reached her. But they didn't change anything. Breathing was happening already. It just didn't feel like enough. The pain held longer this time, long enough that time itself felt stretched thin, like something fragile. Long enough that when it finally began to ease, she didn't trust it at first. She stayed tense, waiting. It loosened slowly, reluctantly. When it was gone, or at least quieter, her body didn't fully relax. It stayed ready, like it had learned not to expect rest. "Okay," the nurse said, glancing at the monitor. "They're coming closer now." Claire didn't respond. She already knew. A different nurse entered the room. Shorter, older, her movements slower but deliberate. She looked at Claire, not just at her chart or the screen. "First time?" she asked. Claire nodded. The woman studied her for a moment, then gave a small, almost invisible nod of her own. Not approval, just acknowledgement. "You've got some time still," she said. "But things are moving." Time. Claire tried to hold on to that word. It felt vague, unreliable. The space between contractions no longer felt like something she could measure. She turned her head back toward the ceiling. The white surface blurred slightly, then steadied. Her eyes stayed there, fixed, as if looking anywhere else might make things worse. Footsteps passed outside the room, voices, distant and low. A cart rolled by, the wheels making a soft sound against the floor. All of it felt separate from her, like it belonged to a different place. Another contraction. Her body reacted faster now, no hesitation. Her hand moved instinctively to her stomach, fingers pressing into fabric, as if that could anchor something. Her jaw tightened. This one was deeper. Not sharp, not sudden, just heavy. It spread slowly, filling space she didn't know she had. She closed her eyes. For a second she wasn't in the room anymore. Not completely. The edges of her awareness softened. The sounds pulled back. There was only the sensation, the pressure, the weight of it. Then a voice cut through. "Claire." It wasn't loud, but it was direct. Her eyes opened. The older nurse stood closer now, watching her carefully. "Stay with it," she said. "Don't fight it." Claire didn't have the energy to fight anything. But the words still settled somewhere. Stay with it. She exhaled slowly, though it didn't feel like a choice. The contraction eased again. This time, when it passed, she felt something else underneath it. Not pain, not exactly, something shifting. She didn't know how to name it, so she didn't try. The nurse adjusted something near her arm. A band. A line. Claire didn't look directly. She let it happen. "Doctor will be in soon," the nurse said. Claire nodded again. The word doctor didn't bring any particular feeling. Just another step. Another person. Another person. Another part of something already in motion. She let her head rest fully against the pillow. For a moment the room felt quieter. Not actually quieter. The sounds were still there. But her attention moved away from them. She focused inward, not on the pain this time, on the space between it. It was smaller now, more fragile. Another contraction began before she could settle into it. Her breath caught again, sharper this time. Her shoulders lifted slightly, then held. Her body felt heavier against the bed, like gravity had increased. The nurse placed a hand lightly on her arm, not gripping, just there. Claire didn't look at her, but she noticed. The contraction built, held, then pressed further than the ones before. It felt like a line being crossed, though she couldn't say where that line had been. Her fingers curled tighter. A sound escaped her throat, low and brief. She didn't try to stop it. When it finally eased, her body didn't return to the same place it had been before. Something had changed, not visibly, not in a way anyone else would point to, but she felt it, a shift in how much she could hold. The door opened. Claire didn't turn her head right away. She heard the movement first, the change in the room's rhythm. Footsteps, slower than the others had been. Someone entered, but didn't speak immediately. There was a pause. Small, almost unnoticeable, but it stretched. Claire opened her eyes. The ceiling was still there, unchanged. She turned her head just slightly, enough to see the edge of the room. A figure stood near the foot of the bed, not close yet, just present. The nurses didn't speak either. Not right away. The silence wasn't empty. It held something. Claire's eyes moved upward, slowly, following the line of the person standing there. Not rushing, not searching, just moving. And then they stopped. Not because she had reached the face fully, but because something in her recognized it before her mind did. The recognition didn't come with a clear thought. It came as a pause, a break in the flow of everything else. Her breath slowed just for a second. The room didn't change, but her place in it did. She didn't say anything, neither did he. And in that space, between one breath and the next, between the fading edge of one contraction and whatever would come after, something old, something she hadn't let surface in a long time, quietly stepped back into the room with her. He didn't move closer right away. That was the first thing she noticed after the recognition settled into something real. Not clear, not fully shaped, but real enough that it didn't leave when she blinked. He stood where he was, near the foot of the bed, hands relaxed at his sides, not tense, not hesitant. Just still. Claire watched him without meaning to. The room continued around them. One of the nurses adjusted something near the monitor. Another checked the line at Claire's arm. Their voices stayed low, routine, like nothing had shifted. But it had. She felt it in the way her chest held her breath a second longer than usual, in the way her focus narrowed, not from pain this time, but from something else she hadn't prepared for. He stepped forward. Not quickly, not slowly either. Just enough to close the distance between where he had been standing and the side of the bed. Up close, there was no doubt. Time had changed him in small ways. Lines that hadn't been there before. A stillness in how he carried himself. But it was him. Ethan. She didn't say his name. Her throat felt too tight for something like that. Not from emotion exactly. More like her body didn't know where to place it. He glanced briefly at the chart in his hand, then at the monitor, then back at her. The sequence was smooth, practiced, but there was a fraction of a second right before his eyes met hers, where his movement paused. He had recognized her, too. That much was clear. Claire, he said. Her name sounded the same, not softer, not different. Just familiar in a way that didn't belong to this room. She swallowed, but didn't respond. Another contraction started to build, low and steady. It pulled her attention back into her body before she could decide what to say, or if she should say anything at all. Ethan noticed. Of course he did. Okay, he said, shifting his focus without hesitation. Let's stay with this one. His voice changed slightly, more grounded, more present in the moment. Claire's hand moved to her stomach again. Her breathing shortened. The pain rose quickly now, not giving her the space it had earlier. It pressed outward, deeper, more insistent. Ethan stepped closer to the side of the bed. Breathe, he said, not as an instruction, but as a reminder. Don't hold it in. She wasn't holding it. It just felt like her body didn't know how to let it move through cleanly. Her eyes closed. The contraction held. Longer. Her fingers gripped the edge of the sheet again. Her shoulders tensed, then stayed that way, but they had forgotten how to release. Claire. His voice again, not louder, just closer. Look at me. She didn't want to. Not because she couldn't, but because it felt like too much at once. The pain. The room. And him, standing there, asking her to meet his eyes like nothing else existed between them. But the contraction shifted, and in that shift, something in her gave way just enough. Her eyes opened. He was there, exactly where she had expected him to be, and still it felt strange to see him like this. Not across a street, not in a memory, not somewhere unfinished. Here. Now. Good, he said quietly. Stay with me. She held his gaze, though it wasn't steady. It moved, faltered, returned. The pain peaked. Her breath caught, then broke into shorter, uneven pulls. Ethan didn't look away. Just like that, he said. Don't push yet. Let it pass. She didn't argue. She didn't think she could have, even if she wanted to. The contraction eased slowly, like it was reluctant to let go. When it finally loosened, her body sagged slightly against the bed. Not fully relaxed. Just less rigid. Her eyes drifted away from his, back to the ceiling. The moment between them didn't close. It just stretched thinner. Ethan stepped back half a pace, giving her space again. His attention returned briefly to the chart, then to the nurse beside him. "She's progressing," he said, his tone clinical now, controlled. "We'll keep monitoring. Let me know if anything changes." The nurse nodded. Claire listened to the words, but they didn't fully land. They passed through, part of the background again. Ethan stayed where he was for a moment longer. Not working. Not speaking. Just there. Claire turned her head slightly, enough to see him again. He wasn't looking at her now. His focus had shifted to the monitor, to the numbers, to something measurable. It made it easier to breathe, but only slightly. A quiet settled between them. Not empty, not comfortable either, just present. Claire let her eyes rest on him for a second longer than she meant to. Then she looked away again. Another contraction began. Softer at first. Her body responded immediately. No delay. She exhaled slowly, preparing without thinking. Ethan noticed again. He always had, even before. He stepped closer. Not as near as before, but close enough. "I'm here," he said. The words were simple. They didn't reach for anything beyond the moment, but they stayed. Claire didn't respond. She didn't trust her voice yet. Not with him, not with everything sitting underneath the surface waiting for space she couldn't give it. The contraction grew stronger. She focused on the rhythm of her breathing. In, out, short, uneven. Ethan's presence stayed steady at her side. Not intrusive, not distant, just consistent. It grounded something she hadn't realized was unsteady. The pain peaked again. She leaned slightly forward, her hand pressing into the bed this time instead of her stomach. A quiet sound slipped out, sharper than before. Ethan didn't react to the sound, not visibly, but his hand moved, resting lightly against the edge of the bed, closer to hers than before. Not touching, just there. The contraction eased. Claire's body softened slightly, though the tension didn't leave completely. Her eyes stayed closed for a moment longer. When she opened them, she didn't look at him right away. She looked at the room, the monitor, the tray, the window. Everything was the same. But it didn't feel the same. Because he was in it now. And there was no way to place him outside of it again. The next stretch of time didn't settle into anything clear. It moved, but not in a way she could follow. The contractions came closer, then closer again, until the space between them felt unreliable. Not gone, just thinner. Claire stopped trying to measure it. The nurses rotated in and out, each one carrying the same calm rhythm. Checking, adjusting, saying things she only half processed. Their presence blurred into a steady background. Ethan stayed, not always at her side, sometimes near the monitor, sometimes speaking quietly with one of the nurses. But he didn't leave the room. She noticed that, not directly. It was more the absence of him leaving that stayed with her. Another contraction started. This one didn't rise quickly. It built slowly, but heavier, like something pressing from deeper inside, taking its time. Claire inhaled, trying to meet it before it fully settled. It didn't matter. The pressure spread, wider than before. Her body reacted the same way it had been learning to, shoulders tightening, fingers curling, breath shortening, but it felt less controlled now. Less contained. She turned her head slightly, searching for something without knowing what. Ethan was already looking at her. "Okay," he said quietly. "This one's different." She nodded barely. Her jaw tightened as the contraction deepened. "Stay with your breathing," he added. The words reached her, but they felt farther away this time. The pain held longer. It didn't peak and release like before. It climbed, then stayed, pressing into her, asking more than the others had. A small sound escaped her again, not loud. Just there. Her hand moved across the bed, searching for something to hold on to. It stopped near his. She didn't take it. But she didn't pull away either. Ethan shifted slightly, his hand moving just enough to meet hers halfway, still not touching. The space between them was small now. The contraction stretched. Claire's breath faltered, then broke into shorter pulls. Her eyes squeezed shut. "Don't push," Ethan said, his voice steady but firmer now. Not yet. She shook her head slightly, not in disagreement, just reacting to the pressure. It felt like her body was trying to move ahead of her. The sensation built, unfamiliar and urgent. I know, he said, quieter now. Just hold on a little longer. His hand moved finally, resting lightly over hers. Not gripping. Just enough pressure to be felt. Claire didn't think about it. She didn't pull away. The contact grounded something. Not the pain was still there, still heavy, but something underneath it. The contraction began to ease, slowly, like it was reluctant to release its hold. Claire's grip on his hand tightened without her noticing. When it passed, she exhaled sharply, her body dropping back against the bed. Her hand loosened, but didn't move away completely. Ethan didn't comment on it. He let the moment settle on its own. Claire opened her eyes. The ceiling came back into focus first, then the edges of the room. She became aware of his hand still near hers, not holding now, just close. She shifted slightly, her fingers pulling back, creating a small space again. Neither of them acknowledged it. A nurse stepped forward, checking the monitor. Stronger, she said, almost to herself. That's good. Claire didn't respond. Good wasn't the word she would have chosen. Another pause followed. Not quiet exactly. The room still carried its usual sounds, but there was a break in the intensity, a brief moment where her body wasn't demanding everything at once. She used it without thinking. Her eyes moved to Ethan again. He was looking at her now, not at the chart, not at the monitor. At her. The look wasn't complicated. It didn't carry questions or expectations. It was steady, familiar in a way that made something in her chest tighten, but not from pain. She held his gaze for a second longer this time. Then two. Her voice came before she could stop it. You're here? It wasn't a question. Ethan's expression didn't change much, but something in it softened, just slightly. I am, he said. The words were simple, but they stayed longer than the others had. Claire looked at him, really looked this time. Not just the outline of who he was. The details. The way he stood. The slight crease between his brows that hadn't been there before. The steadiness in his posture. Time had moved for him. It had for her too. But seeing it like this made it feel closer. Another contraction began before she could hold on to the thought. Her body reacted immediately. Her hand moved again, instinctively, but this time it didn't stop near his. It found his, her fingers wrapped around his without hesitation. The contact was firmer now. Not searching, not uncertain. Ethan's hand responded, holding hers back with the same steady pressure. Okay, he said quietly. This one's going to be stronger. She nodded, though the motion was small. The contraction rose faster than the last. Her breath shortened again, uneven, catching at the edges. She leaned slightly forward, her grip on his hand tightening. The pain pressed deeper, more insistent. Stay with it, he said. You're doing it. The words didn't feel like reassurance. They felt like something else. Recognition. The contraction peaked. Claire's body tensed fully this time, her shoulders lifting, her breath breaking into short, sharp pulls. A sound escaped her, louder now, uncontained. Ethan didn't pull away. His grip stayed steady. Almost, he said. She didn't believe him. Not because she doubted him, but because the moment itself felt endless. But then it shifted. The pressure loosened, slowly at first, then more clearly. Her body followed, tension releasing in uneven waves. Her grip on his hand remained tight for a second longer, then softened. She leaned back against the bed, her chest rising and falling harder than before. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The room moved again around them. The nurse checked something. Another adjusted the bed slightly. Claire's hand was still in his. She became aware of it slowly, not as a shock, just a realization. Her fingers loosened, but she didn't pull away immediately. Ethan didn't either. They stayed like that for a second longer than necessary. Then she let go. Her hand returned to the bed, resting there, open. The space between them returned. but it didn't feel the same as before. Something had shifted, not fully, not clearly, but enough that it couldn't be undone. Claire turned her head slightly, looking away again. Her breathing began to steady, though it didn't return to normal. Nothing felt normal anymore. Not the room, not the pain, not him standing beside her like he had never left. Another contraction would come. She knew that. But now, something else sat alongside that certainty. Not comfort, not peace, just the quiet awareness that she wasn't holding all of this alone anymore. And she didn't know what to do with that yet. The next contraction didn't wait long. Claire felt it begin before her body had fully settled from the last one. There was no clean break anymore, just a thinning space where the pain softened enough to breathe, then returned before she could use that breath properly. Her eyes stayed closed at first, not to shut anything out, just because opening them felt unnecessary. Her hand rested against the bed, fingers slightly curled as if they were still remembering the shape of his hand. She didn't reach for him this time. The contraction built slowly but heavier than before. It didn't stay in one place. It spread, pulling her focus inward again, deeper than she had gone earlier. Her breath shortened. In, out. It didn't follow a rhythm anymore. Claire, his voice, closer again. She opened her eyes. Ethan stood where he had been, but something about him had shifted. Not his position, not his expression exactly, just the way he was watching her. More focus now. Less distance. "This one's going to push you forward," he said quietly. She didn't respond. Her body was already ahead of her. The pressure grew, pressing downward in a way that felt new. Not just pain. Something else layered into it. Something that made her want to move, even when staying still had been the only thing she could manage before. Her hand tightened against the sheet. Her shoulders lifted again. "I know," Ethan said, his voice low. "It's different." Claire nodded faintly, though the movement barely registered. The sensation built further, stronger than anything before. It didn't feel like something to endure anymore. It felt like something her body was trying to act on. Her breath caught. A quiet sound slipped out, sharper than before. Ethan stepped closer. "Don't fight it," he said, "but don't rush it either." The words landed somewhere in between understanding and instinct. Claire tried to hold on to them. The contraction held. Longer. Her body tensed fully, then shifted slightly, like it was trying to find a position that made sense for what was happening. Her hand moved again. This time, it didn't hesitate. It found his. Her grip was tighter now. Not searching. Holding. Ethan's hand responded immediately, steady, grounded. "Good," he said. "Stay with me." She focused on his voice, not because she chose to, but because it was something she could follow when everything else felt uneven. The pressure built further. Her breath broke into short, uneven pulls again. Her jaw tightened. "It's okay," he said. "You're close. Close." The word didn't mean much on its own, but it stayed. The contraction peaked, stronger than before. Claire's body reacted fully this time. Her shoulders lifted, her grip tightened, her breath caught hard in her chest. A sound escaped her, louder, uncontained. Ethan didn't flinch. "Let it move through," he said, steady. "You don't have to hold it back." Her body didn't need permission. It was already moving. The sensation shifted again, more intense, more focused. It pulled her forward deeper into something she couldn't step out of. Her fingers tightened around his hand. Her eyes squeezed shut. Then it began to ease. Not quickly, but enough that her body followed, tension loosening in uneven waves. Her grip softened slightly, though she didn't let go. Her chest rose and fell harder than before. She leaned back against the bed, her head resting fully this time. The room came back slowly. Not all at once. Just pieces. The sound of the monitor, the movement of the nurses, Ethan's hand still in hers. She became aware of that last. Her fingers loosened slightly, but she didn't pull away. Not yet. Another voice entered the room, one of the nurses. "She's progressing quickly," she said. Ethan nodded, though Claire barely saw it. "Yeah," he replied. "It's moving. Moving." Everything was moving now. Faster than before, Claire opened her eyes again. The ceiling looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. Nothing did. Her body shifted slightly, adjusting without her thinking about it. The pressure hadn't disappeared. It stayed quieter but present, like something waiting just beneath the surface. She exhaled slowly, then inhaled again. The space between contractions felt smaller now. Fragile, like it could break at any moment. Her hand finally loosened fully from his. She let it rest back against the bed. Ethan didn't hold on. He let the space return. But he didn't step away. Claire turned her head slightly, looking at him again. He was watching her, not intensely, not in a way that asked anything from her. Just present, steady, the same way he had been through everything so far. She held his gaze for a second, then looked away again. Not because she wanted to. Because something about it felt too heavy to hold on to for long. Another contraction began, faster this time. No warning. Her body reacted immediately. Her hand moved again. She didn't think about it. She found his hand without looking. Her fingers wrapped around his again, tighter than before. Ethan's hand met hers instantly. "Okay," he said, his voice grounding the moment. "This one's going to push you further." Claire nodded faintly. The contraction rose quickly, stronger. Her breath shortened again, breaking into uneven pulls. She leaned forward slightly, her grip tightening. The pressure deepened, more focused now, pulling her downward in a way that felt impossible to ignore. "I know," Ethan said quietly. "It's a lot. A lot." The words felt too small for it. But she didn't argue. She didn't have the space to. The contraction peaked. Her body tensed fully, her shoulders lifting, her breath catching hard. A sound escaped her again. Sharper, louder. Ethan's grip stayed steady. "Almost there," he said. She didn't respond. She couldn't. The moment stretched, longer than it should have. Then, it shifted. The pressure loosened slightly. Her body followed, tension releasing in uneven waves. Her grip softened, but didn't let go completely. She leaned back against the bed again, her chest rising and falling harder now. For a moment, everything felt suspended. Not quiet, not calm, just held. Claire's eyes stayed closed. Her breathing began to slow, though it didn't steady completely. The room moved around her again. But something inside her had shifted. Not just the pain, something else. A realization she didn't fully form but felt. She was past the point of holding back. Whatever came next, her body was already moving toward it, and this time, there was no space left to step away. The next contraction came before she was ready for it. Not that readiness meant anything anymore. Claire felt it begin low, then drop deeper, sharper than before. It didn't spread outward this time. It narrowed, focused, like everything inside her had aligned toward a single point. Her breath broke immediately. Her hand tightened around his again. Ethan was already there. "I know," he said quietly. "This is where it changes." She shook her head slightly, not disagreeing, just reacting. Her body leaned forward on its own, pulled by something she couldn't stop or delay. The pressure wasn't something to breathe through anymore. It demanded movement. Her jaw clenched. "I need." The words came out broken. She didn't finish. "I know," Ethan said again. "You're going to feel like you have to push." Feel like. That wasn't what it was. It was already happening. Her body bore down without asking her. "Okay," he said, voice firmer now. "Listen to me. When it comes, go with it. But steady. Don't rush it. Steady." The word felt impossible inside what her body was doing. Another wave hit, stronger than the last. Claire's grip tightened hard, her fingers pressing into his hand without restraint now. Her shoulders lifted, her back arching slightly as the pressure surged. A sound tore out of her, low, strained, uncontained. "Good," Ethan said. "That's it. Don't fight it." Her eyes squeezed shut. There was no space for anything else, no room for thought. Just the force of it pulling her downward, forward, deeper into something that didn't leave space for hesitation. "Push with it," he said. She didn't need the instruction. Her body followed the pressure instinctively. Everything tightened, focused, moved. The moment stretched. It felt longer than anything before. Then, a break. Not relief. Just a shift. The contraction loosened slightly, enough for her to inhale sharply, her chest rising fast. Her grip didn't release. Ethan's hands stayed firm, steady, absorbing the pressure without pulling away. "Good," he said again, quieter now. "That's exactly what you need to do." She barely heard him. Her body was already preparing again, tension rebuilding before she could settle. The space between contractions had nearly disappeared. Another one came. Faster. Stronger. Claire leaned forward again, her body already moving with it, her breath fractured into sharp pulls. "I can't," she started, but the words collapsed under the pressure. "You can," Ethan said, not louder, just certain. "You already are." Her fingers tightened again, almost painfully. The pressure surged, overwhelming, demanding everything at once. She pushed. Not carefully, not controlled at first. Just everything. "Slow it down," Ethan said, still steady. "Stay with it, don't force it." She tried. Or maybe her body adjusted on its own. The movement changed slightly, less frantic, more focused. The pain didn't lessen. But it shifted. The moment held, then eased. Claire collapsed back against the bed, her breath coming hard, uneven, her chest rising and falling too fast. Her hand finally loosened slightly but didn't leave his. She couldn't, not yet. Her eyes stayed closed. Everything felt too bright, too sharp. "Claire." His voice again, closer. She opened her eyes slowly. He was still there, unmoved, not distant, not overwhelmed, just steady. "You're almost there," he said. The words didn't feel like reassurance. They felt like something real, something close enough to reach. Another contraction began. No warning. Her body reacted instantly, leaning forward again, her grip tightening hard. "Okay," Ethan said. "This is the one to stay with?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. The pressure surged immediately, stronger than anything before. It didn't build. It arrived. Her breath broke into sharp, uneven gasps. Her shoulders lifted, her entire body tightening around the force of it. "Push," Ethan said. She did. Everything focused into that single action. No hesitation. No holding back. The moment stretched longer than the others. Her body held, strained, moved with something deeper than conscious effort. The sound broke from her again. Louder now. Raw. "Good," Ethan said, his voice steady through it. "Stay with it." She pushed again. The pressure intensified, then shifted sharply. Different. Something changed. Claire felt it before she understood it. A release, but not relief. Not yet. Her breath caught hard in her chest. Her grip tightened again, then faltered slightly. The contraction began to ease. Slowly, unevenly. She fell back against the bed, her body trembling slightly now, her chest rising and falling hard. For a moment, everything felt suspended. Then voices. Closer now. More focused. "Again," someone said. Ethan's voice followed, quieter but clear. "One more like that." Claire shook her head faintly, her eyes closing again. There was nothing left. It felt like there was nothing left to give. But her body didn't agree. Another contraction built almost immediately. No space. No break. Her hand found his again, tighter than before. He held it without hesitation. "Just one more," he said. The words didn't feel like pressure. They felt like something to hold on to. The contraction surged. Claire leaned forward again, her body already moving with it. Her breath broke, her shoulders lifting, her grip tightening painfully. She pushed. Everything. No holding back. The moment stretched, then shifted. Sudden. Clear. Different. The pressure broke in a way it hadn't before. A sharp release. Her breath caught, then stopped completely for a fraction of a second. And in that space, everything changed. The tension in her body dropped all at once. Not fully gone, but altered in a way that felt impossible to ignore. Her grip loosened suddenly, her shoulders dropped, her chest pulled in a deep, shaky breath. The room filled with a new sound. Claire didn't process it right away. It cut through everything, sharp and alive. She blinked, her vision unsteady. Her body felt distant for a second, like it was catching up to something that had already happened. Ethan's hand was still in hers, but lighter now, less needed. She turned her head slightly, her eyes searching without fully focusing. The sound came again, clearer, closer. Her breath caught again, but differently this time. Not from pain, something else. She didn't speak. She didn't move. She just listened. And in that moment, before anyone said anything, before anything was explained, before her mind could catch up, she knew. The sound didn't stop. It came again, then again, then again, then at first, then stronger, filling the room in a way nothing else had. Claire stared toward it without fully seeing where it came from. Her eyes struggled to settle, like they had forgotten how to focus on anything that wasn't inside her own body. Her chest rose sharply. Air moved differently now. Not forced, not chased. Just there. Her hand was still in Ethan's, but her grip had changed. It wasn't holding on anymore, it was just resting, fingers loose, almost weightless against his. Someone moved near the foot of the bed. Quick, practiced motions. A shift of fabric. A quiet exchange of words she couldn't catch. The sound came again, stronger this time. Claire's throat tightened. Not pain. Something else. Unfamiliar in how it settled. Her eyes blinked slowly, then again, trying to clear the blur that hadn't fully gone away. Shapes sharpened. Edges came back. A nurse stepped closer. Something small in her arms wrapped tightly. Claire didn't reach out. She didn't move at all. Her body felt separate. Not disconnected, just slower, like everything inside her had been stretched too far and hadn't returned yet. Here, the nurse said gently. Claire looked at her. Then at what she was holding. The world narrowed again, but not the same way it had before. Smaller, quieter. The nurse leaned in, lowering the bundle carefully toward Claire's chest. Claire's arms didn't lift right away. They hesitated. Not because she didn't want to, because she didn't know how to yet. Ethan's hand shifted slightly, a small pressure against hers, not guiding, not pushing. Just there. Claire's arms moved then, slowly, carefully. She took the weight as it was placed against her. It was lighter than she expected, and heavier. The sound softened as the small body settled against her. Claire looked down. For a moment, nothing made sense. Then it did. Not all at once. Just pieces. A small face, still flushed. Eyes closed tight. Movements that didn't follow any pattern she understood yet. Her breath caught. Not sharply, just held. Her hands adjusted slightly, unsure. Then steadier as she felt the shape of what she was holding. The room quieted around her. Not completely. The sounds were still there. Movement, voices, equipment. But they faded behind something else. Claire didn't notice when her grip on Ethan's hand fully loosened. She didn't notice when his hand slipped away. Her focus had shifted completely. She looked down at the baby again. Longer this time. Her thumb moved slightly, brushing against the small blanket without thinking. The baby shifted. A small movement. A sound, softer now. Claire inhaled slowly. Her chest tightened again. Not from pain, from something that didn't fit into anything she had felt before. She didn't try to name it. She didn't trust herself to. Ethan stepped back slightly. Not far. Just enough. He watched quietly, not interrupting the moment, not adding to it. Claire didn't look at him. Not yet. Her world had narrowed again, but differently. The baby's movements slowed. The sound softened further. Claire adjusted her hold again, more confident this time, though her hands still moved carefully, like she expected something fragile to break if she wasn't exact. A nurse spoke softly near her shoulder. She's healthy. Claire heard the words. They reached her. But they didn't settle fully. Not yet. Healthy. The word hovered somewhere just outside of where she could hold it. She nodded faintly, though she wasn't sure if the nurse was looking. Her eyes stayed on the baby. Time didn't feel clear here. It didn't move the same way it had before. There were no sharp edges, just the quiet stretch. Claire's breathing slowed, not completely steady, but closer. Her shoulders dropped slightly, the tension that had held them for so long beginning to release. The baby moved again, a small shift, a soft sound. Claire's hands adjusted instinctively. She didn't think about it. She just responded. Her thumb brushed lightly against the baby's arm, the motion small, uncertain at first, then repeated. The contact felt real in a way nothing else had for a while. Grounded. Present. Claire exhaled slowly. Her eyes softened, though her expression didn't change much. Everything inside her felt quieter, not empty, not resolved, just quieter. A nurse adjusted something near the bed. Another checked the monitor. The room returned slowly, piece by piece. Claire became aware of it again, but it didn't pull her away. She stayed where she was, looking down, holding on. Ethan moved slightly closer again, but still kept his distance. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Claire finally looked up. Not fully. Just enough. Her eyes found him. For a second, neither of them said anything. There was no urgency in it. No pressure. Just a moment that existed on its own. Claire's gaze held his. Not searching. Not questioning. Just there. Something passed between them. Not clear. Not defined. But present. Then her eyes dropped back down. To the baby. She adjusted her hold again. Slightly closer now. More secure. Her breathing steadied further. The room continued around her, but it no longer felt like something she had to move through. For the first time since she had stepped out of the car, she wasn't trying to get anywhere. She was already there. The room didn't stay full for long. People moved in and out, quietly, like they understood something had shifted and didn't need to stay to witness it. The nurse checked a few things, adjusted the blanket, said something soft that Claire didn't fully catch. Then she stepped back. Another voice followed, then faded. Eventually, it was just the three of them. Claire, still on the bed, the baby, settled against her chest. Ethan, standing a few steps away. The quiet that settled wasn't empty. It held everything that had just happened. Claire adjusted her arm slightly, pulling the baby closer without thinking. The movement felt more natural now, less careful, though she still moved slowly. The baby stirred, a small shift, a soft sound. Claire's eyes dropped immediately. Her attention moved without effort. She watched the movement like it meant something she needed to understand. Her thumb brushed lightly along the edge of the blanket again. The baby settled. Claire exhaled. The tension in her shoulders lowered a little more. Not gone, but softer. She didn't notice how long she stayed like that, looking, breathing, letting the moment hold itself without interruption. Ethan didn't move closer. He stayed where he was, his presence steady but unobtrusive. Claire became aware of him again, slowly. Not because he made a sound, because something in her reached outward again. Her eyes lifted, found him. He was watching her. Not in the way he had during the contractions. Not focused, not guiding, just present. Claire held his gaze for a second, then another. Her throat tightened slightly, not enough to hurt, just enough to feel. You stayed. The words came out quieter than she expected, not fragile, just unguarded. Ethan didn't answer immediately. He shifted his weight slightly, but didn't step closer. I said I would, he replied. His voice was calm, the same tone he had used the entire time, but now, without the urgency around it, it felt different. Claire looked at him. Really looked this time. Not through the lens of what he was doing. Just him. There were things she remembered, things that matched, and things that didn't. Time had done its work. On both of them. She swallowed. Her gaze dropped briefly to the baby, then returned to him. I didn't know it was you, she said. The words felt strange in the room, like they belonged to a different time. Ethan nodded slightly. I figured. There was no edge in his voice. No accusation. Just acceptance of something already understood. Claire shifted slightly on the bed. The movement pulled at something in her body, a dull reminder of what had just happened. She didn't react to it, not outwardly. Her attention stayed split now, between the baby and him. I almost didn't come, she said after a moment. The sentence came without planning. It just surfaced. Ethan's expression didn't change much, but his focus sharpened slightly. You came, he said. Simple. Claire nodded faintly. Her hand moved again, adjusting the baby's position slightly. The motion steadied her, grounded her back into the moment. I didn't think, she started, then stopped. The rest didn't come easily. She didn't push it. Ethan didn't fill the space. He waited. The silence stretched, but it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt necessary. Claire exhaled slowly. Her gaze dropped again. I thought I had to do it alone, she said. The words landed differently, not defensive, not apologizing, just stated. Ethan watched her for a second, then nodded. You've been doing everything alone, he said. It wasn't a question. Claire didn't answer right away. She looked at the baby again, at the small movements, the quiet rise and fall of her chest. Her fingers adjusted slightly, more sure now. After a moment, she nodded. Yes. The word was quiet, but it held. Ethan took a small step closer. Not enough to close the space fully, just enough to shift it. You don't have to keep doing that, he said. Claire's eyes lifted again. Found his. The words didn't feel like an offer. They felt like something else. Something steady. Something that didn't need to prove itself. She held his gaze. Her chest tightened again. Not from pain, from the weight of what the words meant. She didn't respond right away. Her eyes dropped again. To the baby. The small, steady presence against her. Something real, something new. Her thumb moved again, brushing lightly against the blanket. The baby stirred slightly. Claire adjusted without thinking. The motion felt natural now. Less careful. More certain. Her breath steadied. She looked up again. Ethan hadn't moved. He was still there. Waiting. Not pushing. Not pulling away. Just there. I left, she said. The words came quietly, but they didn't waver. Ethan nodded. I know. No edge. No surprise. Claire swallowed. Her grip on the baby tightened slightly. I didn't tell you, she added. Her voice lowered further. The room felt smaller again. Not in a closing way, in a focused way. Ethan's gaze didn't shift. I know that too, he said. Claire's eyes searched his face for something. Anger. Resentment. Something she could recognize and place. She didn't find it. That made it harder. I thought, she started again, then stopped. The words didn't line up. Her breath caught slightly. She exhaled slowly, trying again. I thought it would be easier if you didn't know. There it was. Not clean. Not perfect. But real. Ethan didn't respond immediately. He looked at her, then at the baby, then back at her. It wasn't easier, he said, not accusing. Just true. Claire nodded faintly. I know. The admission sat between them, heavy, but not crushing. The baby made a small sound. Claire's attention dropped instantly. Her hand moved, adjusting, soothing without thinking. The motion steadied her again. When she looked back up, her expression hadn't changed much, but something in her eyes had. Less guarded, still careful, but open enough to hold the moment. Ethan took another small step closer. Still not too close, just enough. I'm not going anywhere, he said. The words were simple. No emphasis. No promise dressed up to sound bigger than it was. Just said. Claire held his gaze. Her chest tightened again. She didn't answer, not because she didn't have something to say, because she didn't know how to say it yet. So she didn't. She looked down again. At the baby. Her baby. The weight of that settled slowly, not all at once, but enough. Her breathing steadied, her shoulders lowered. The room stayed quiet, not empty, just full in a different way. Ethan stayed where he was. Claire stayed where she was. And between them, not everything was resolved, not everything was clear, but something had shifted. Enough that the silence didn't feel like distance anymore. It felt like space, and for the first time, that space didn't feel like something she had to fill on her own. The room changed again, but slower this time. Not with movement or urgency, just a quiet rearranging. A nurse came in, checked a few things, asked Claire a question she answered without thinking. Another adjusted the blanket, glanced at the monitor, then left. No one stayed long. It felt like the space had been given back to her. Claire shifted slightly against the bed, careful now, aware of her body in a different way. The sharp intensity was gone, but something lingered underneath. A dull weight. A reminder. She didn't resist it. Her arms adjusted around the baby again, pulling her a little closer. The movement came naturally now. Less hesitation. Less second-guessing. The baby stirred, a small sound slipping out. Claire's eyes dropped immediately. Her focus narrowed again, but not like before. Not tight. Not forced. Just attentive. She watched the small movement, the slight shift of her head, the way her fingers curled and uncurled without purpose. Claire's thumb moved lightly along the edge of the blanket again. The baby settled. Claire exhaled. Her breathing felt steadier now. Not perfect, but hers again. Across the room, Ethan moved slightly. Not toward her. Just repositioning. She noticed. Not directly. Just enough that her awareness of him stayed present. The quiet stretched. Claire didn't rush it. She stayed where she was, letting the moment hold itself. Her eyes moved between the baby and the space in front of her, not landing anywhere for long. Something inside her felt different. Not lighter. Not heavier. Just changed. She didn't try to name it. After a while, she shifted again, slowly pushing herself up just a little higher against the bed. The movement pulled at something in her body, but she moved through it carefully. Ethan stepped closer then, not abruptly, just enough to be within reach. "You should rest," he said. His voice was the same as before. Calm. Steady. Claire shook her head faintly. "I'm okay." The words came easily. She didn't question them. Ethan watched her for a moment, then nodded. He didn't argue. Claire looked at him then. Fully this time. There was no urgency pushing the moment forward now. No interruption waiting at the edge of it. Just space. "You've changed," she said. The words came without planning. Ethan exhaled slightly, almost a quiet breath. "So have you," he replied. Claire nodded. She didn't deny it. Her eyes dropped briefly to the baby, then lifted again. "I didn't think I would see you again," she said. Ethan's expression didn't shift much. Neither did I. There was no weight added to the words, no emphasis, just truth. Claire adjusted her hold on the baby again, pulling her a little closer without thinking. The motion grounded her. I kept thinking she started, then paused. The rest didn't come right away. Ethan didn't fill the silence. He let it sit. Claire swallowed. "I kept thinking if I stayed away, it would be simpler," she said. The words felt familiar now. Not new. Something she had told herself more than once. Ethan nodded slightly. "Was it?" Claire's eyes dropped again. To the baby. Her thumb moved, brushing lightly against the blanket. She shook her head. "No." The answer came easier than she expected. Ethan didn't respond. He didn't need to. The truth of it stayed in the room on its own. Claire shifted slightly again, her body adjusting to the new position. The baby made a small sound. Claire's attention moved instantly, her hand adjusting without thought. The motion felt natural now, certain. She looked back up, at him. There was something different in the way she held his gaze now. Still careful, but less guarded. "I didn't think you'd—" she started, then stopped. The words felt too specific, too pointed. She tried again. "I didn't think you'd stay," she said instead. Ethan's eyes didn't leave hers. "I didn't think you'd let me," he replied. Claire blinked. The words landed quietly, but they settled deeper than she expected. She looked at him for a long second, then her gaze dropped again. To the baby. Her baby. The weight of that felt clearer now, not overwhelming, just real. She adjusted her hold again, pulling her slightly higher against her chest. The baby shifted, then settled. Claire exhaled slowly. Her shoulders lowered. "I don't know what this looks like," she said. The words came softly, not uncertain, just honest. Ethan nodded. "Neither do I." No hesitation, no attempt to define it. Claire looked at him again. Something in her chest tightened, not painfully, just enough to feel. "I don't want to go back to how it was," she said. Ethan held her gaze. "We can't," he said. Simple. True. Claire nodded. She didn't expect anything else. The room stayed quiet. Not empty. Just steady. She looked down again, at the baby. Her thumb moved lightly across the blanket. The motion had become familiar now, automatic, grounding. She watched the small rise and fall of her chest, the tiny movements that didn't follow any pattern she understood yet. Something settled in her. Not a decision, not fully formed, just a shift. She looked back up. At Ethan. Her gaze held his longer this time. "I don't want to do this alone," she said. The words came quietly, but they didn't waver. Ethan didn't respond right away. He stepped a little closer. Not enough to crowd the space. Just enough. "You don't have to," he said. The words didn't push. They didn't ask. They just stayed. Claire looked at him. Really looked. For a long moment neither of them moved. The space between them felt different now. Not empty. Not uncertain. Just open. Claire exhaled slowly. Her grip on the baby adjusted again. More secure. More certain. She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. Because something had already shifted into place. Not perfectly. Not completely. But enough. Enough to hold. Enough to begin. And this time, she didn't step away from it. The light in the room changed without anyone touching it. Not brighter. Just softer. Like the edges of things had eased. Claire noticed it without looking directly at the window. The kind of noticing that happens when nothing else is pressing in. The baby shifted again. A small movement. A quiet sound. Claire adjusted her hold. Closer now, more instinct than thought. Her hands knew what to do before she caught up to them. She looked down. Stayed there. The rise and fall of that small chest was steady. More steady than anything she had felt in hours. Maybe longer. Her breathing followed it without her meaning to. Slower. More even. Across from her, Ethan didn't move for a while. He wasn't watching the room anymore. Or the monitors. Just her. And the baby. The way they fit together now, like something that had always been meant to happen this way, even if everything before had said otherwise. Claire felt his attention again. Not heavy. Just present. She lifted her eyes. Met his. There was no hesitation this time. No pulling back right away. The moment held. Not stretched. Just steady. "I kept thinking about that day," she said. The words came quietly, like they had been sitting somewhere close for a long time. Ethan didn't ask which day. He knew. Claire looked at him, but her focus wasn't fully in the room anymore. It moved somewhere behind her eyes. Not clear enough to see, but close enough to feel. "I thought if I walked away first, it would hurt less," she said. Her voice stayed even. No break in it, just the truth, placed carefully. Ethan exhaled once, slow. "It didn't," he said. Not correcting, not challenging, just meeting it where it was. Claire shook her head faintly. "No." The baby moved again. A small shift. Claire's attention dropped instantly. Her hand adjusted, thumb brushing lightly, a quiet pattern she didn't think about anymore. When she looked back up, her expression hadn't changed much. but something inside it had less distance, more presence. "I was afraid of needing you," she said. The words came easier now, not because they were simple, because she had already crossed into saying them. Ethan held her gaze. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quieter. "I was afraid you didn't." Claire's breath caught just slightly. Not sharp. Just enough. She looked at him longer this time. Really looked. There was no defense in him, no attempt to protect himself from what had already happened. Just openness. She didn't look away. Not immediately. "I did," she said. The words stayed small, but they held. Ethan nodded once. Slow. He didn't step closer. Didn't reach for anything. He let the space stay as it was. Claire's eyes dropped again. To the baby. Her baby. The weight of that felt different now. Not unfamiliar anymore. Not something she was bracing against. Something she was already inside of. Her hand moved again, adjusting, steady. She exhaled. "You should hold her," she said. The words surprised her a little as they came out. Not because she didn't mean them, because she hadn't planned to say them yet. Ethan didn't move right away. Not hesitation. Just giving the moment time to settle. "Are you sure?" he asked. Claire nodded. This time without pause. "Yes." She shifted slightly, careful with the movement, bringing the baby a little higher, preparing without thinking. Ethan stepped closer, slowly, deliberately. When he reached the bed, he didn't rush it. His hands came forward, but he waited. Claire adjusted again, guiding without speaking. Their hands met briefly, not by accident, but not held, just enough to transfer the weight. The baby moved between them, from her to him. Claire let go slowly, not all at once. Her fingers lingered for a second longer than necessary, then released. Ethan held the baby carefully, not uncertain, just aware. His arms adjusted slightly, finding the right position. Claire watched him, not the way she had watched before, not searching, just seeing. The baby stirred. A small sound. Ethan's focus shifted instantly. Claire noticed that. The way his attention narrowed, the way his hands adjusted without thought. It felt familiar and new at the same time. Claire leaned back slightly against the bed. Her body felt heavier now, not from strain, from everything settling. Her hands rested empty for a moment. She looked at them, then back at him. There was something quiet in her chest now. Not the tension that had been there before. Something steadier. Ethan looked up, met her eyes again. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. The room held them as they were. No urgency. No expectation. Just this. Claire exhaled slowly. Her shoulders dropped fully for the first time. Not held, not braced. Just at rest. She watched him with the baby. The way he stood, the way he adjusted, the way nothing about it felt forced. Time moved. But she didn't track it. She didn't need to. After a while, she shifted again, carefully, her body reminding her where she was, but it didn't pull her out of the moment. It stayed with her, grounded. She looked at him again, then at the baby, then back at him. "We'll figure it out," she said. The words came quietly. Not a question, not a promise, just something placed between them. Ethan nodded. "We will. No more. No less." Claire let her eyes rest there, on both of them. Something inside her settled into place. Not everything, not completely, but enough. Enough that the weight she had been carrying alone didn't feel the same anymore. It hadn't disappeared. It had shifted, shared. And in that shift, something opened. Not wide, not all at once, but enough to let something in. Claire didn't rush it. She stayed where she was, watched, breathed. Let the moment hold. Because for the first time in a long time, She wasn't trying to protect herself from what might come next. She was letting it come,